Hey there, HorseCenter fans. Matt and I are back with another exciting edition of the show. Matt, we got big cards at both Oaklawn Park and Gulfstream Park on Saturday.
We sure are back, Brian, and we are back on the Kentucky Derby trail with a couple of really interesting races.
Yeah, some of the top contenders for the Kentucky Derby currently are running Saturday. Matt and I are going to do full fields analysis of both the Southwest and the Fountain Youth. Watch it now right here on HorseCenter. Welcome to another edition of HorseCenter, everyone. I am Brian Zipsy, and as always, I have the excellent pleasure of being joined by my co-host to the East Coast. That's Matt Schiffman. How are you today, Matt?
I am good, Brian. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, Matt, and I'm looking forward to these great cards of racing, both in Arkansas and in Florida. We got the Southwest heading the day at Oaklawn Park. We got the Fountain of Youth heading a big day at Gulfstream Park. And we got some big horses running in these Kentucky Derby preps. Matt, you ready to start?
Let's get going.
Let's do it. We'll start with the Southwest, which is big money, Matt. $750,000 for the Grade 3, mile 16th at Oaklawn on Saturday. And we got a big name in there, Matt. We've got the 2-year-old, the undefeated, the unbeaten, the reigning champ, Essential Quality, heads the field, making his first start since winning the Breeders' Cup Juvenile.
Yeah, Brian, the twice delayed Southwest is finally looks like it's going to go off this weekend, and Essential Quality is making his return as a very deserving and probably heavy favorite for the team of Brad Cox and Luis Saez.
Yeah, Luis Saez, he drew the rail, Matt, but I think having Luis Saez helps that rail draw a little bit. He doesn't have the speed, say, of his main competition in here, but Luis Saez is a aggressive rider who rode him brilliantly in those 2 Grade 1 victories at Keeneland last year, including, of course, that big win in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, which basically handed him a 2-year-old champion. He is the Eclipse Award winner, Matt. He's undefeated. He'll be a heavy favorite, as you say. I don't like him in here. He's not going to be my top pick in the Southwest. How about you?
I don't know, Brian. I'm eager to hear who your top pick is going to be at this point. You know, he did very little wrong last year in those 3 victories, Brian. And if he makes the kind of growth that most horses make from their 2-year-old year to their 3-year-old year, and like we said, it is Brad Cox who is the hottest trainer in the country now, you got to expect him to move ahead.
Yeah, no, I think Essential Quality is primed for a very good run at the Triple Crown Series in a few months. I just don't particularly like this spot for his first race in 4 months, and I think he's a vulnerable heavy favorite. So I always try to beat vulnerable heavy favorites, Matt. And the horse I love in here is named Last Samurai. Matt, I'm kidding. It's not Last Samurai. It's Jackie's Warrior. I think this is a good spot for Jackie's Warrior, a really good spot for Jackie's Warrior. Hey, if Jackie's Warrior is ever going to beat Essential Quality, I don't think he's going to get a chance at 6 furlongs at Saratoga. So I think this is the spot where Jackie's Warrior can beat Essential Quality. You'll remember in that Breeders' Cup Juvenile, he was the heavy favorite off 4 overpowering wins where he showed all kinds of speed, winning big graded stakes in New York, including the Hopeful and the Champagne. In the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, we had 14 horses. We had 22 and change. We had a fast pace. Jackie's Warrior tried to stalk that pace, never could get by. And I tell you what, he didn't run all that battle race, Matt, beaten about 3 lengths in 4th. I think this is much less speed, a much smaller field. Hey, if there's a chance for rain, I don't think that hurts him either. I see him out there winging on the lead at 8.5 furlongs, Matt. I think he's going to turn the tables and beat Essential Quality this time around in the Southwest.
Yeah, my feeling about Jackie's Warrior, Brian, is that, I can't absolutely conclude that he's, got distance limitations from that Breeders' Cup Juvenile 4th place finish. Like you said, in his other races, he was out there winging it. And, frankly, in the Breeders' Cup, he didn't get out early. Got shuffled back a little bit. Things didn't go absolutely his way in the beginning of that race. So, like you said, he was in a stalking position. I don't know if that's what they wanted or not. And again, the race came after he had run 4 times, 4 for 4, 4 big performance in there, and maybe he wasn't at his peak. Maybe he was trailing off a little bit in the Breeders' Cup. So I can't absolutely just automatically say that Jackie's Warrior is only a sprinter. And like you said, this is only a field of 7. It's not the kind of field that the Breeders' Cup Juvenile was. And Steve Asmussen is very good at getting horses ready off of long layoffs. So it seems like in the Southwest, things are going to go Jackie's Warrior's way out of the gate. We'll see about the 2 turns in this race.
Right, and if we look back, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, it was Essential Quality who had a 2-turn race in preparation for that Breeders' Cup Juvenile, while Jackie's Warrior had never been before 2 turns.
Yeah.
So for all those reasons, and yeah, I was going to mention Steve Asmussen as well. I think he's an excellent trainer to get horses ready off the layoff, and Jackie's Warrior with his speed, fresh speed, which I always like, I think is going to be extra tough. And I just think this is a spot where he can beat Essential Quality, hand Essential Quality his first loss. And this time the odds will be pretty much reversed what they were in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. So I think he's going to beat him on Saturday. I don't think he'll beat him in the Kentucky Derby going 10 furlongs. But mile 16th with not a lot of speed in a short field, Jackie's Warrior is my horse in here. Let's talk about some others in here, Matt. Spielberg, I think, is clearly the 3rd choice in here. He's trained by Bob Baffert, and Bob Baffert has just had a wonderful history among many things, but going to Oaklawn Park with his good 3-year-old. I don't necessarily think Spielberg is his best 3-year-old, or maybe even his top 2 3-year-olds this year. But the $1 million son of Union Rags looked good winning the Los Alfuturdi a couple starts ago. And I think he needs to be respected in here as an experienced runner in graded stakes racing.
Yeah, Brian, certainly he needs to be respected on the fact that he is the experienced runner in this field with 7 starts. And, you know, he frankly, in those races, he ran against the upper echelon horses of this class in all of those starts. So it's good experience against good fields. He's got a little bit of a class advantage on some of the horses in here. His return in 2021 in the Robert B. Lewis 4th place finish was, not particularly noteworthy. He was a good distance behind those top 3 that battled it to the wire.
Right, and Spielberg, frankly, has been a little bit of an in and outer. If you look at his 5 graded stakes races, he's been in the top 4 each time, but you can see a pattern of running better and then running not so good. And last time, yeah, it was hard to like the Lewis. He was beaten better than 11 lengths in there by 3 good horses, but still, he'll have to improve on that. There's good reason to believe he can bounce back. That Los Alfuturdi win 2 starts back, which was December of his juvenile year, was quite good. Certainly the horse to beat if neither of the 2 favorites run after the layoff to their capability. Now, Matt, as we look at the next 4 in the Southwest, I think we drop off certainly in class, proven class for sure. I'm just not high on any of the other 4. We'll start with Safa's Day. He's a Carpe Diem. He's run a few good races for also trainer Steve Asmussen, but I don't like his stakes experience.
Yeah, I agree with you, Brian. It's Asmussen. It's his top rider Santana on board. He's got a maiden special weight win in January that did come at Oaklawn Park.
Yeah, it was by a nose. It was against Cheaper. He was very game that day, and his debut win at Keeneland was good. But the fact that he took a couple shots at stakes races last year, not against the likes of Essential Quality and Jackie's Warrior, and still wasn't really too competitive, makes me not love him in here. Maybe the most interesting of the long shots is Woodhouse, a son of Speightstown, an inexpensive son of Speightstown, who broke his maiden in his debut nicely at Remington Park. Matt, he came back last time at Oaklawn Park, ran a good race, and maybe I even like that better than Safa's Day's maiden win. Woodhouse was 3rd by a length, but he had some trouble in the race.
Yeah, I find Woodhouse a little bit interesting in this race also, Brian, just because, he's got those two races and really hasn't, done anything wrong. I thought that third place race at Oaklawn Park showed a little bit of promise. So I think this one's going to be one of the longest prices on the board, and one that I'm interested in using in the trifecta in particular.
Right, I like him fourth best as well. And if it is rainy and sloppy at Oaklawn Park, which could happen on Saturday, I do like Speightstown on the mud. So Woodhouse making a big step up. He's only had two races, but has some potential there. The next horse is Santa Cruz, or Matt Son dialed in. Looked like a pretty good 2-year-old, but two races now at Fairgrounds, he was really not a threat as a rallier in either. Fourth in the Lecomte, seventh in the Risen Star. Can he do better here?
I guess he could, but I think he's a horse that you and I had a little bit of interest in. Keith DeSormo, had a nice maiden win at Churchill Downs, but boy, he just really hasn't run well in either of those Derby preps this year.
Yeah, and he's being brought back pretty quickly. The Lecomte and the Risen Star both this year, so this will be his third race already against graded stakes competition as a 3-year-old. Last horse on the list is Last Samurai Matt. I want to say some good things about the Son of Malibu Moon. I guess he won 1 of 3, but hard to like off that 2-year-old form.
Yeah, and hard to like off of a layoff from October, even with long shot specialist Dallas Stewart training.
Yeah, that's the Southwest field. As you can tell, folks, I really like Jackie's Warrior. Take it for what it's worth. It might be the favorites running 1, 2 in either order here, the two coming out of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Maybe Spielberg runs a big race, possibly Woodhouse has a bomb. But I really do like Jackie's Warrior's chances to beat Essential Quality in the Southwest, but not moving forward.
Yeah, I agree that this is the ideal spot for Jackie's Warrior. So, like Brian said, if you don't like taking 4 to 5 or so, which could be on Essential Quality, Jackie's Warrior, hey, really has never run a bad race in his career. But those of you that are fans of Essential Quality have a lot of good reasons to be excited about this race on Saturday.
Absolutely. Finally getting to see the champ back. As we're getting to see some other good things at Oaklawn on Saturday, Matt, Kimari is one of my favorite female sprinters. She had a shortened year last year after a trip over to Ascot. She'll be running in a stakes race there, and I expect her to come out running first time for Wesley Ward. We also get to see Mystic Guide come back, Matt. The Jim Dandy winner, Jockey Club Gold Cup runner-up, runs on the Razorback card as well.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that. Mystic Guide was a horse that I started to like a lot after those last two starts.
Yeah, Mystic Guide, like Essential Quality, is a Godolphin runner. Hasn't been seen since the Jockey Club Gold Cup. So look for him against Owendale and others in the undercard there in the Razorback. Gulfstream Park has a really good undercard as well, Matt. But let's talk Fountain of Youth, because I think just like we had one of the major contenders for the Kentucky Derby in the Southwest, we also have one of the major Kentucky Derby contenders here. Greatest honor, a son of Tappet returning after a big win in the Holy Bull.
Yeah, we've got a field of 10 here at Gulfstream Park in the Fountain of Youth. And the Fountain of Youth, is one of those races that over the years has produced a lot of Kentucky Derby winners and has produced a lot of horses that end up in the field in the Kentucky Derby, both in recent years and, going back, 10, 20 years historically. Like you said, it's a big card, and the Fountain of Youth is the 14th race, the last race on a 14-race card, chock full of graded stakes. Field of 10. It's an interesting group, Brian, because we've got some horses in here, a couple of horses that I really consider wild cards. That it's hard to know what they're going to do in this prep on the Derby Trail, going 2 turns on the main track in Fire at Will and Drain the Clock.
Yeah, the two interesting wild cards, but let's talk a little bit more about Greatest Honor, Matt. The winner of that Holy Bull, I thought he showed a dynamic move, kind of between horses, rallying up nicely. Son of Tappet out of an absolutely wonderful female family that's produced multiple Belmont Stakes winners, so you know this horse is going distance. But this horse also looks really good in two starts at Gulfstream Park for trainer Shug McGahee. I think there's just a ton to like here. And, you know, I always want to try to beat the favorite, but with those two wins at Gulfstream Park already recently, he looks tough in here to me.
He does, Brian. We've got the top 5 finishers from the Holy Bull in this field. The Holy Bull, where Greatest Honor made that noteworthy move that you mentioned when he was heading into the turn a good distance back, and by the time he came out of the turn, he unleashed a turn of foot and was widening really impressively. Those of us that like that performance, like me, have spoken about that, but there are people that are putting a knock on the Holy Bull because of the speed figure that Greatest Honor got coming out of that, which will need to improve on if he's going to end up being a real contender to win the Kentucky Derby. But also the way the Holy Bull played out with the horses really spread out down the stretch. Tarantino, finished second, but nobody else was really close. So yeah, Greatest Honor looked terrific in that race, but was it because the rest of the field wasn't doing too much? I guess we'll find that out in the Fountain of Youth.
Yeah. To me, he's the horse to beat, and I was impressed with that performance. Looking at his main competition, Matt, maybe Train the Clock, Breaking from the Rail, will be the second choice. The son of McLean's Music has been really spectacular in 3 races at Gulfstream Park. In fact, his only loss was when he lost the irons and lost the rider. He's won the other 4 easy, 3 of them at Gulfstream Park. The last 2 were stakes at Gulfstream Park. Having said that, they were all sprints, and I'm not sure the competition he was running against. In fact, I for the most part, I don't love the competition. So I think both a step up in distance and a step up in class. But on the other hand, his form at Gulfstream is really, really good.
It really is good. It's Saffie Joseph. He's on his home base at Gulfstream Park. Yes, he hasn't gone farther than 7 furlongs. Yes, I have questions about his ability to get the distance, but Brian, there's not very much other speed in this race, and he could get out there winging it.
Yeah, it's possible. I don't think this race is necessarily short of speed, but on the other hand, maybe there's no real speed balls to go with him. I think that's what you're getting at. I think he will go right to the lead, the son of McLean's Music from the Rail. But I think there are quality horses who want to be very close to him early and pressure him early. So I'm kind of off this one in this spot going around 2 turns in here. I'm not going to be putting my money on Drain the Clock to stretch out successfully in this field. But I do recognize him for trainer Saffie Joseph Jr. as a threat, as is the next horse, Matt, I want to mention, Breaking from the 4-hole. That's Fire at Will. Fire at Will, like a few we talked about in the Southwest that we've not seen since the Breeders' Cup, but he was a winner in the Breeders' Cup as well, impressively winning the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf at good odds, despite now having won 3 straight stakes races. Matt, Fire at Will is on a declaration of war for trainer Mike Maker. He's an interesting proposition in here as well.
He absolutely is. The other wild card in the field, Brian. Last 2 victories have been graded stakes races on the turf, and before that, it was the With Anticipation that came off of the grass because of the rain and was run on a sloppy track. Now, you might say, hey, he's already run well on the dirt in that sloppy track. And yeah, that's true, but it's not uncommon for turf horses to run well on the slop, but then not translate that to a dry main track. He comes out of the barn of Mike Maker, excuse me. And if there's any trainer that's going to make the move from turf to dirt successfully, Maker's one of those trainers who can do it. So out of the two wild cards of Drain the Clock and Fire at Will, I think Fire at Will has the best chance of being a contender in this Fountain of Youth.
Yeah, I actually like him better than Drain the Clock in here. Mike Maker was strongly considered, and in fact, what I read was Mike Maker's choice was to run in the Breeders' Cup on dirt. So he's always thought this horse could handle the dirt. He sees them every morning, and Fire at Will has apparently impressed his trainer on dirt. The one race he's had was slop, but it was a stakes win. Working well at Gulfstream Park, I think there's something to be said for his trainer really liking him on dirt for so long. So obviously, a horse with class and a good turn of foot. We saw that in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf stretch for sure. So a dangerous horse, but it's a tough spot after almost 4 months off and now switching to dirt. It's a tough spot again for Prime Factor. Prime Factor was the favorite in the Holy Ball, Matt, off of only one race. It was a maiden win. We both thought he could move forward this on a quality road for trainer Tom Pletcher, as did a lot of people. But he really flattened out in the stretch. Was third in the Holy Ball, but a well-beaten third behind Greatest Honor.
Yeah, he was, like you said, he was close to an even money favorite, and that was based on the big, visually impressive maiden win, going 6 furlongs. The Todd Pletcher, the connections, etc. Everything pointed to the kind of horse that has done well. But like you said, in the Holy Bull, he was in absolutely perfect position, Brian, in third, in a stalking spot, and had every reason to turn in a good performance. But while Greatest Honor was revving up his engine around the turn, Brian, Prime Factor was sputtering, and when he was asked, he had absolutely nothing down the stretch. Did finish third, but he wasn't particularly close to the second place finisher either. Can you give Prime Factor a pass on that and look for him to run a better race here? I guess you can, but I don't know. I'm not optimistic.
Yeah, I agree with you, Matt. I think we give him a partial pass because I do fully expect him to be better than he was in the Holy Bull. He's only had that one sprint race before the Holy Bull, so now he's had experience, and he did put himself in perfect position. He made a nice move on the turn to be right there as they straightened out. So with the experience, I do expect him to improve, but I don't know if he can prove enough to turn those kind of tables that he lost in the Holy Bull. Closer in the Holy Bull was Tarantino, a long shot I kind of liked in there, coming off 3 good turf performances. He put in a good performance, stalking the pace, or pressuring the pace, I should say, in the Holy Bull, and held well for second.
Yeah, it was a really good performance, talking about going from turf to dirt. And like you said, he essentially ran second all the way around the racetrack, was no match for Greatest Honor, but defeated the rest of the field pretty handily. Do I expect Tarantino to make what would need to be, I guess, a pretty big step up to be competitive and have a chance to beat Greatest Honor? I don't think so.
Right. He's run 4 very good races, and he's a very good horse. But yeah, whether he can move that much up off that last one is in question. He's one, along with Prime Factor and Fire at Will, that does have enough early pace maybe to make life a little difficult for Drain the Clock at some point in the backstretch or in the turn. But improving enough to win this, I'm not sure. Maybe the ralliers have a better chance, Matt. One of them is Papetu, the son of Dialed In and from Antonio Sano barn. He was a good second in the Mucho Macho Man. Last time he never really kicked it in to be 4th in the Holy Bull.
Yeah, I guess, it's a similar kind of story that we've been saying about a number of the horses coming out of the Holy Bull. They went into the Holy Bull, and Papetu was a horse that I was interested in. That second place performance in the Mucho Macho Man was very nice, on top of the fact that he, had a good maiden special weight and allowance win at Gulfstream Park at the beginning of his career. And then, quite frankly, the fourth place finish in the Holy Bull was disappointing because he just really didn't show anything coming down the stretch in that race. Again, I guess the same kind of story. Can we expect what would have to be a big improvement heading into the Fountain of Youth?
Right. I do like him in the fact that he's run 4 pretty good races at Gulfstream Park. Maybe the last one wasn't exciting, but he's got some late foot. I think he could be a board hitter at much higher odds than he was in the Holy Bull. Girafales didn't do much, went distant 5th in the Holy Bull, and much less of a factor than the other horses coming out of the Holy Bull in his second start. The Florida bred would look up against it in here.
Yeah, I agree. This is a horse that I don't really feel confident about getting the distance, a son of the speedball social inclusion.
Yeah. So Subtle is another Florida bred, and after a failed debut on turf, he came back with a pretty big win against state breds, though, at Gulfstream Park.
Yeah, it was against state breds. He'll be every bit of 20 to 1 or so in there.
Right, but he does have some speed, which is another horse who could potentially pressure Drain the Clock early. The next horse on the list, Matt, is King's Ovation, a son of Not This Time for Dale Romans, who was second in the Swale last time.
Yeah, second in the Swale. He did run into a little bit of traffic trouble heading for home in there. It's Dale Romans, it's West Point Thoroughbreds, so quality connections.
Right, and actually I like this horse quite a bit in here, Matt. This is the one long shot from the 2-3-0 races that I actually do like. He's been an in and outer for sure. He was 1 out of 3 at 2. I liked his win, second start out, rallying to win at Churchill Downs. And last time I really did see some traffic trouble where he tried to run up in between horses and just got discouraged there and then kept on going in the stretch. To me, Matt, he looks like a horse who wants to run 2 turns. I thought that performance in the Swale was sneaky good. As I said, I don't really love Drain the Clock in this spot, but I think there will be some pressure on Drain the Clock. Going up in distance, King's Ovation is going to be a bomb. This is a bomb I want to play because I think he's a sneaky horse in here to pick up pieces and get into the picture at the end of the race. I'm not saying he's necessarily going to win, but as a long shot, I love to use this horse in the exotics on Saturday. The last horse is Tiz Tac Toe, Matt. 0 for 3 on turf. Couldn't win against Maiden Claimers last time. I'm not sure what he's doing in here.
Yeah, I guess the only thing that I could say positive is that the trainer, Robert Hess Jr., and the owners dipped into the claiming box and took this guy for $50,000 in his last start. So I guess they saw something in this horse. But yeah, going in the Fountain of Youth on the dirt, yeah, I don't like much about him.
Right. All right, Matt. Well, I like Greatest Honor. I think he can do it again. I think he can make it 3 for 3, much like Shug McGahee's Orb did about 8 years ago. He's the horse to beat. He's the favorite, unfortunately. But the good news for me is the horse I kind of like a little bit below him is going to be 30 to 1, and his name is King's Ovation. So I'll be betting Greatest Honor and King's Ovation. How about you?
Greatest Honor for me, as you know, Brian. I have him at the top of my Kentucky Derby list, so I hope he runs a big one in there. But I like Fire at Will a little bit, and as you mentioned, he may be the third choice in this race with Drain the Clock and all those victories getting a lot of attention. Like you said, I think he could run a good race on the dirt. I'm not real big on the rest of the Holy Bull horses in this field, as I think is the case with you, Brian, when you're in picking out King's Ovation, a new face to come in at a bomb in this race.
Yeah. Fire at Will is interesting, though, Matt. I think he's the most interesting besides the horses that I like in here. All right, folks, that's our Southwest Stakes at Oaklawn Park and our Fountain of Youth, the Grade 2 Fountain of Youth at Gulfstream Park previews. Essential Quality against Jackie's Warrior. Can Greatest Honor do it again like he did in the Holy Bull? We'll have some interesting fields. Also on that card, Gulfstream, Matt, plenty of graded stakes, but Bequist faces a big field in the Devona Dale, and she's got some Curlins in there to deal with, Curlin's Catch and Millefwee. So interesting to see Vequist on that undercard. Can I get a parting shot from you, my friend?
Absolutely, Brian. It's good to be back on the Kentucky Derby Trail with you, my friend. And of course, I want to thank our friend and our great producer, Brett Workman, for putting together the show.
Yeah, now one more thing. Mishrif ran by Charlton late in the Rich Saudi Cup. We like the Americans in there, but Mishrif is obviously a very talented horse. I didn't think Nick Sko had the speed that he usually shows, and that surprised me a little bit. But Charleston ran a very game race, but Mishrif, turf horse for John Gosden, is more than a turf horse.
Yeah, and as we talked about last week, there was a chance that was what was going to happen with the two top Americans going at it for most of the early race. That's exactly what happened, and John Gosden, one of the top trainers in the world, had that horse ready.
Gosden is a master for sure. Thanks, folks, for watching every week. If you haven't yet subscribed to our YouTube channel here at Horse Racing Nation, please hit that button for us today. Also want to thank our sponsor, the best contest site out there, that's Derby Wars. Now I know we'll be talking more Kentucky Derby preps, big card at Santa Anita and Tampa Bay next week. So, folks, I hope you'll join us then. We'll see you right here again on HorseCenter.